Okay, guys, a few of you have come to me with questions about what you're supposed to do on the ifs for "Oh Captain, My Captain." So the idea here is that we're going to talk about the analysis and we're going to talk about the writing on the analysis. So a lot of you are interpreting "Oh Captain, My Captain" as Whitman has conflicting emotions, which is kind of what we said in class. But his conflicting emotions aren't happiness or sadness. His conflicting emotions are sadness and the feeling that he should be happy. If you take a look up here at the very beginning where he starts talking about everything, it's not Whitman or his narrator who is feeling happy. It's everyone else seeing the ship come in. The metaphor for the end of the Civil War, the victory of the Union. He's the only one that seems to have knowledge of what they've spent, which means the death of the captain. And so though he knows he should feel happy, he doesn't. He feels conflicted, specifically about the idea that they've lost the captain, i.e. Lincoln. Remember when you're writing about this, by the way, that if you're going to talk about the metaphor, talk about the metaphor. So it's not, the ship comes in and Lincoln dies. It's the ship comes in and the captain dies. You don't want to mix those two because the metaphor is different than the actual idea or what the metaphor represents. So when we go to the first question, what words does Whitman use in the first stanza to create a tone? You're looking for words that are loaded. So words that are descriptive as opposed to telling us what happened. So in line 4, the ship has weathered every rack, the prize we sought is won. Line 5, the port is near, the bells I hear, all the people all exulting. So words like exulting, bells, prize, won, these are all describing what's going on to an extent. And so you have to look at that and go, oh, well, it seems like everything is good, so that's a happy or a victorious tone. Then you get to line 7, it changes. Now, it's not completely shifted yet because he's not really telling us anything about the captain dying, just that the captain's dead. When you go down to the second stanza, now it starts to shift a little more. Now we have, a little more intermingling of what's going on. Captain, rise up, hear the bells. So even though there are things that are going on that are great, the captain can't hear them because he's dead. Then in line 15, he start call, it's not just captain but father. That's a big shift. Get to the last stanza, and so the second question: what effect of the contrasting image of the things like the bells compared to the arm beneath the head of the captain was fallen cold and dead? Well, now it's it's the reality of the death setting in. He's holding him in his arms, watching him die, as opposed to what's going on outside. This is being at a dance and watching everybody have a good time and realizing you just got dumped. It's that kind of feeling where I know that the around me everyone is happy, but I can't be because of the reality that only I know. And then finally at the end, he kind of just drifts off of that. Even though it's happy, it's in the past. It's not there anymore. He's focusing much more heavily on his grief. And so when we talk about all that, when we go over here, what we're talking about is the other as in the expected. I know I should feel good. I know that I should be okay, but I'm not. And so that's the self. The self has a feeling, and whatever the self's feelings are, that's what they are, even if there's an expected feeling out of it. And that's what I'm asking you to talk about. Whitman is talking about how he knows that all of these great things somehow outweigh the death of Lincoln because he's just one guy. But he's the one guy who made all these things happen. And so even though he should be feeling great at what's happening, he feels sort of empty about it. He feels he's too attached to the death of Lincoln as opposed to the winning of the war, just like we'll call him the sailor, the narrator, is too wrapped up in the death of the captain to feel the happiness that's going on. And the images show that in the poem. So when you write it, you would write, your topic sentence should be something along the lines of, Whitman uses conflicting images of the victory of a victory versus the loss of the captain to show how the narrator is detached from the victory even though he feels like he should be taking part in it. and then you explain it from there. Now that doesn't have to be exactly it, and you can change it as you want. Part of writing is an analysis is that my answers are not always the right or only answers, but it's a start. If you have any other questions, you guys know how to ask them, but I thought I'd give this out to you guys to help a little bit.